I'm back. Happy New Year. I can't believe it's 2026 already, but here we are, as crazy as it is. Today I want to talk about strategy, content strategy to be specific, and AI. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I feel like everything that is happening with automation of both content production and content workflows is both a strategist dream and also a nightmare. There are so many advantages, there are so many disadvantages, and we might even have strategists wondering, am I still relevant? Do companies still need me? Because let's be honest, there are a lot of layoffs, there are a lot of talk about more layoffs and marketers becoming irrelevant. So let's talk about that. Last year, I attended a webinar slash it was a whole conference really, but it was virtual, organized by Emily Kramer of MKT1. Everything was focused on the advantages that AI would bring to a certain type of marketer who is able to do be very scrappy, do a lot more with AI and generally understand marketing, right? So we had people showing us how to use an AI tool to build a whole website from web pages from scratch. I don't want to say websites, that's the whole thing. So if your design team is super busy, you can go off and do your own thing, set up a landing page and just run with the ideas that you have. We had someone else come in and show us how to build like entire workflows through HubSpot. If you think about it, the limit has been taken off. A lot of content strategists come up with ideas, right? But there's never enough time, there's never enough resources. But with AI, if it's used well, that it means that you are actually able to execute faster. Of course, this is based on the context. There's a lot of things you might also need to fix because you are using AI. But let's just assume all things being equal in a utopian ideal world, this is a great time to be a content strategist. But it's also one of the worst times to be a content strategist because literally, if you can do everything, it's almost like there's so much power for marketing teams and companies, and they might not want to listen to your advice. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Um, the major question to answer is, does strategy still matter while all of this is going on? I think it does. I think it does even more. And here's why. So I wrote down my points on my laptop. I'm going to be reading through them. With the limits of content production reduced and like lots of boring work, either outsourced to bots or automated in some way, there are infinite opportunities to explore. And that also means that it's hard to choose what path is best. So maybe before it was really hard to get into email marketing, even though this was something that you had as a core part of your tactics in your strategy. Maybe because you didn't have enough people on the team, or like um you weren't sure how to set up some processes or workflows rather. So imagine you have a tool that does most of the work for you, then come in as a human just to evaluate, is this good, it's not good. That means you can get into it and start reaching people through that channel. Is much easier. And with even with a lot of companies, leadership is mostly open to using AI for a lot of things. So maybe even getting approval for some of your content activities is easier. In this case, email marketing. Now, on the flip side, maybe there's a company that, and there might be no company like this, but maybe there's a company out there that should have no business with email marketing, or they're supposed to use it in a certain way because there are tools and there are like easier ways of setting up email marketing. um they might decide that they're just going to explore it because they can. And we all know that I keep saying that we need to look at where our customers are at. We need to look at the skills that we have on the team. We need to look at capacity and several other factors like business goals before we get into any channel. So if without a strategist there, people would just literally do anything they want, and that will result into random acts of content. We don't want that because the ROI is going to be very low for any content channel that is explored that does not fit within the places that either your consumers are interested in or matches the goals that your company is trying to get. Strategies are very important in steering everybody back to the right road. Like the fact that we can do this does not mean that we should do it. So that's one. Now, another thing is if everybody has access to the same tools as you and uses them pretty much the same way, the advantage of using these tools is kind of lower. So it's almost like the playing field has been leveled. Let's say before it was super hard to get into video marketing because of editing and all of that. And then everybody can run a webinar and cut and splice it and distribute it easily because of these tools, because of these workflows. And it just makes it harder to differentiate yourself, to stand out. And that's where, once again, strategies come in. Because with your unique understanding of the customers, of the company positioning, of even the markets, you're able to ensure that the content you produce is not generic and it's not maybe distributed in a generic way. So your job right there is a job of differentiation, of making things stand out, of thinking beyond the way a company that just wants to push content out would. It's like, how do we make this different? How do we make this ours? How do we make this something that our customers would be interested in? Now, and the final thing that relates to customers is more content is equals to less people listening to any of the businesses. And with AI in the mix, right, it means that there's more skepticism. Skepticism. So more people are just like, I don't know if I can trust this brand because it might not be humans behind it. And even if I don't have a problem with it not being humans producing content 100%, maybe what I'm not sure their safety or guardrails around how they produce content, so I simply cannot trust it. So that even makes things harder for marketers because they have to fight harder to ensure that things remain human, things remain true and accurate, and that their audience is convinced of that. Once again, a strategist can help with that. So these are three solid reasons why content strategy still matters now. And if you have any other that you think is relevant or important, please let me know in the comments. This year should be different when you're approaching your content strategies. It's a whole new world. I started singing a whole new world in my head for a reason. Anyway, it's a whole new world, and some of the ways that we approach our work needs to change. So, I have 3 points. Once again, this is an episode of trees. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I have 3 points again. So, the first thing is consider what has changed in the industry with AI in the game. Um, how do having tools that cut production time in half affect the way that maybe your competitors are approaching content? How is it affecting the way that people are consuming content? And how is it affecting your executives' approach to approving decisions, getting on board, maybe even bringing suggestions of what to do? The world is a bit different now. And that means that when you are building out strategies or executing strategies, you need to consider what has changed and how that affects your work. So, um, taking it down to even tactics, it's like, okay, if everybody can wake up and do um and a top of the funnel post or maybe mm, bottom of the funnel, sorry, middle of the funnel post. And yes, I'm using blogs. Forgive me, I'm always attacking blogs, but I'm using them for this example. Let's say if everybody can make a middle of the funnel and top of the funnel post, maybe we actually need to double down more on bottom of the funnel posts, but written by right like content marketers who both understand our product positioning and understand how to communicate this to our readers. Maybe we need to start including things like actual comments from people on Jitsu, finding other ways to make this unique because anybody can put this up. That's like that's something considered in that specific context. Then By doing this, it helps you adjust from your typical approach to strategy. Because let's be honest, when we keep doing something over and over again, we have certain mindsets about how things could work, but they don't exactly reflect the state of the world. Now, the second thing is find out ways to reshape automated content to suit your brand. I covered this a bit. Everybody can make something right now, but then if you've gone through anything that AI makes, especially with written content, it's kind of flat and lifeless. So, what's your plan to infusing your brand into the assets that you're creating? I think this is something that strategists should be thinking about discussing with their teams. Is it going to just be like everybody else? Are we going to be making things like everybody else, or how are we making this unique? So things like customer data, even like your branding itself, that's your brand assets itself, or doing something really quirky can help differentiate you. You should really, really think about every single action that you are recommending that your team is considering and that your team is considering taking, and that your maybe C-level exec is suggesting, right? Really look at them and ask, does this align with where we're trying to go? Is this part of the coordinated set of actions we need to take in order to make the strategy work? If the answer is no, then you need to push for it to be cut out. In an ideal world, it's I would say you need to cut it out, but let's be honest, when you work within a company, not everything you want goes the way you want it. So it's more of making the case not to do things as opposed to stopping everybody from trying to do things. More on that in another episode. Well, that brings us to the end. I'm really excited to hear everybody's experiences with AI and strategy. Please subscribe, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye bye.